I'm here with Elena Tonetti, Vladimirova, the founder of Birth into Being, and we are going to discuss the meme that is traveling around the internet um, kind of incessantly, really, for the last few years. It surfaces every now and then, and the meme is about the the myth of Igor Charkovsky and, and the dolphin assisted births in the Black Sea back in the 70s. And Elena was there as part of the group that was holding space for amazing ocean births, and which all feature in her film Birth as We Know It. And we're going to find out what actually happened in that time. So, hi, Elena. Thanks so much for making the time.
Hi,
To
yeah, that meme keeps popping up in my feed. I don't know if it's like omnipresent or is it just gravitating towards me, but it just keeps showing up, and it's very annoying and upsetting because there is like every line has a lie, and I wrote many times about it, and I think maybe if we would record the spoken word, maybe it will stop the influx of those lies, because it's really, I don't know who made that meme. I wish there would be some kind of signature. I don't know, talk to them to withdraw it, but it has so many incongruencies and inaccuracies that I don't even know how you can squeeze that many in one paragraph. For example, it says that Igor Charkovsky delivered 20,000 babies in water. Well, let me start with that, because 20,000 births, it's about 55 years delivering a baby every single day. That's just not realistic. The whole conscious birth movement that originated in Russia um, is not that long. It's only 40 something years old, not 55, definitely. But there were not deliveries every single day. Um, the question is, how many babies were born? Well, it was different amount per year, because it started really, really slowly. In 86, there was the first baby born in the Black Sea, in the summer, of course, in the family of Katya and Volodya Bagriansky. That baby girl was the first and only one that summer. And then every next summer, there was more and more. There was the first um, dozen, then there was the second dozen, but then there were many different lagoons where the birth camps were. So we did not have computers. We did not have anybody at all who was interested in accounting, or we didn't even have a concept of accounting. So when I was working on my Birth as We Know It documentary, Tatiana Sargunas and myself, we spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how many babies were born, to no avail. We could not remember, looking back, like by year, by location, like when she would come up with, oh, there was Yulia and Anton. And I was like, no, they were in a different year. It was like there was absolutely no accounting, no bookkeeping, because money did not exchange hands. There was no computers, no internet, no iCloud. We didn't even have cameras the first years. So the births that I show in the film, it's pure mystical coincidences that there were camera present at that time. The majority of births, first of all, we didn't have cameras. Then, secondly, at the camp in the Black Sea, there was no electricity, there was no lights. It was mainly during the night that babies chose to arrive. So the majority of births were never documented. Um, and they were prepared by different, uh, how should we call it, counselors? Um, we were not therapists, we were not um, doctors, we were just giving birth ourselves and then wanting to share that experience with others and just sharing how it was. Tatiana was teaching classes with emphasis on emotional and spiritual aspects of bringing in a human being into this three-dimensional reality that was never like medically oriented or professionally oriented. None of us ever claimed to be a professional or a somewhat um, reliable person in a sense of in an organizational sense. So I know with attitude that is prevalent right now that giving birth is a medical procedure, that sounds really bizarre and hokey pokey and blah blah blah. But the fact remains that our species exists for a very, very, very long time. We're not going into how long exactly, because that's irrelevant. The fact remains that it exists way before the medical field, the way it is now, was ever formed. So somehow we survived as a species and actually thrived. Look at us sitting here, right? So we are the descendants of survivors. It's in our bones and blood. So somehow we were able to be born to people who were born to people who were born, and you know, thousands of years of being born without operation rooms and heavy lighting and steel surgical tools. Humans were born. And when we talk about infant mortality or childbirth mortality, well, it turns out that the birth-related mortality wasn't really that critical or high. There was mortality related to, say, contamination because the place was dirty, or the circumstances of famine or plagues, or all kinds of warfares, or domestic violence was one of the very big factors. So it was not due to the um, flawed procreational mechanism of the species that we have that is actually quite reliable, and it's as good as any wild animal in the jungle or in the forest. You know, it's very different than the procreational mechanism with domesticated animals because they are exposed to human-fed foods and toxins and behaviors, and they're um, outside of their comfort zone. They're put in the place of disowning the innate skills, including the skill to procreate gracefully. But that's what basically happened to us. So the women that were exposed to multi-generational volume of stress and incoherency and abuse and all kinds of um, experiences that switched our brain into producing stress hormones instead of dopamines and feel-good hormones that are supposed to accompany a baby delivery. So we are now in the aftermath of thousands of years of uh, historical abuse, with women generation after generation having to deal with being sold into marriages, being traded, being raped, being um, starved, being beaten, being just disrespected, and in every form, basically, by the church, by the society, by the mother-in-law, by her own husband, by all the older sister-in-laws. It all adds up. And we are in this very suggestible state when we're being formed as a fetus inside the mother, because the fetus um, already has the baby girl fetus already has little eggs formed about halfway through pregnancy. So those eggs are informed by all the emotional um, equivalent in hormones. It's all chemistry of what's mother experiencing. So we're absorbing not only what our mother experienced, but also what our grandmother experienced when she was carrying our mother. So it's like matryoshka doll, bringing in one layer after the other of absorbing and registering and memorizing all of that amniotic soup that we were floating in when we were being made. So it's really important to go back to the roots and clear out that conditioning that was basically handed down to us. This is what is the real answer. If we want to give birth well, we need to neutralize the effect of all this generational trauma had on our mother, on ourselves, on our partners, because the baby daddy making is also a very big factor in this game. So I know that poster was carrying um, a very um, dangerous message that if you place a pregnant woman next to a dolphin, she's gonna have magically beautiful birth. No, 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 no. Because first of all, uh, those women that were giving birth at the Black Sea um, had the whole pregnancy of preparation. They went to weekly classes. They worked one-on-one with Igor Charkovsky. They worked with each other. There were groups. There were gazillion sessions that they experienced of clearing all of that from them. Because to summarize, what is bringing complications in the delivery? First of all, um, it's the woman's own birth trauma. That's number one. The trauma that she experienced when she was being born. Then there are all the layers of everybody involved. Her husband's or the father of the baby, his birth trauma. Her mother, his mother, the midwives, the doctors' trauma, the doulas, the sisters, whoever is present in the room. The birthing field is a vortex. Anything you throw in the blender is going to be part of the smoothie. You're going to taste it, right? So birthing field is like that vortex of energies. Whoever is present, whatever they're bringing, is going to be affecting the quality of this birthing field. So this is a very important thing to remember, that whoever is invited to participate and be present needs to neutralize their birth trauma. And what exactly does it mean? Well, that's a very big subject, but just to name a few.
Bring it back to the meme.
Okay.
Yeah, let's bring it back to the meme and to why do you think that it is so popular? Why do you think it is shared around so much that there is, even with the disconnect in our culture from birth, there is a memory of undisturbed birth. There is a memory of a mystical experience that birth can be. And why do you think women are longing for that?
Well, why do women want a princess wedding? that's that's kind of the same root. There is that little girl that wants magic, that wants a fairy tale, that wants some mystical, mysterious, um, magical help from a magical creature. It's really we're brought up in on those fairy tales when there is some mythology is doing their number, and all of a sudden, everything is working great. Um, we all want magic. That's why that name is so popular. Um, and also probably the whoever made it, they probably made it off of Igor's words. And he was a unicorn. He was this magical creature, completely disconnected from like reality as we know it, like this particular three-dimensional. He was a seer. He was a healer. He was a true Siberian shaman. He was not very rooted. He was not very grounded. And numbers were not his strong point. I noticed it over the years that he would just throw random numbers that reflect how he feels about the subject. It had nothing to do with the situation. There was always exaggeration. There was always some kind of emotional attachment in the way he operated. I am 150% sure there was no ill intent in deceiving, in lying. There was no selfish bone in his body. He's not like he's not like we are. It's just he lived on the intersection of so many different layers of reality, or many realities. He could just um, oh, I have hours of stories to tell about how exactly magical and how crazy and how absolutely unruly, and like to get him on the plane to fly somewhere to give a talk at some conference, that was a nightmare to like try to narrow down his life force flow into one particular direction. It's so
And
that
the truth is also that footage from the Black Sea birth camps that appears in your film, Birth as We Know It, uh, has influenced thousands upon thousands of births. Like the responses that you still get, more than 20 years later about the film, saying, how pivotal it was in people preparing for their birth. uh it's like I've seen all those beautiful love letters, and it's so heartening. And seeing that birth footage opens doorways in people's minds. So perhaps the meme is connected to that as well. The numbers on the meme are connected to the amount of influence that footage has had over the years. What do you
well,
think?
yeah, it says that it started in 79. No, the first, I joined him in 89, and that's when we got some numbers, the significant numbers to talk about. Before I joined forces with him, he had only 5 births. That's until like I got involved in 82. And then by 83, it was already a few dozen of them. And then by 84, there was a few hundred of them. And then it was just growing with geometric proportion. As I said, we don't know how many of them exactly. I don't know, thousands, but not 20,000. Not 20,000, maybe, well, whatever number I will say would be speculations. I would say maybe like 5, 6,000. between all of us. But there was nothing happening in 79. The first Black Sea birth was in 86. Yeah, then it was really hard to count. And that number, if he said that number, 20,000, it's his wishful thinking. That's probably in his head. That's what he saw. The vision that he was generating, that incredible kind of impulse that he sent out into the world. By now, I am sure, by now it's millions because that movement is all over the world. But again, we can't count. We don't know. But the most important thing is that it's not up to dolphins to make that magic. Dolphins are beautiful, and it was magical to have them around and come close and sing and jump in the water. And it was extremely calming and efficient, and everybody would just relax and go into the zone of a sort, when everything is absolutely clears. And it was everything was simple in a way that life itself is very simple. We try to make it as complicated as we can, but the life by itself is very simple. And so is birth. We're doing a lot to complicate them with, our history, our behaviors, our choices, our lifestyle. But birth, as nature intended it, is supposed to be a very clear and simple way of pumping oxytocin and going into the zone and surrendering and letting the baby out. It's like that simple. Almost blasphemy to say something like that, but that's true. That's what it's supposed to be, that women would be able to give birth like any cat can give birth. Just go into a quiet, dark place and relax and surrender, and let that same force that got the baby in there help get the baby out. And it's not a cognitive process. There is nothing you can read a book about it and learn how to do it. It's not by thinking that you can achieve that experience. It's by going back into the body, into leaning on the ancestral strength and knowing the essence, the core of our being humans, being manifested spirit.
And so if you had to boil it down to, just a few key pieces of advice to help a woman to reach that place of simplicity, what would you recommend?
Well, number one, as I said already, to neutralize her own birth trauma, then neutralize all the consequences of emotional abuse, especially sexual abuse, if she experienced it. Because if that doesn't happen, then it will show up as some form of complication during pregnancy or birth. Then, of course, clearing the lifestyle, the dietary choices, to know what her body and what her baby's body needs for nourishment. Stop using whatever is the drug of choice. Really just clean up your act, which is really good whether you're giving birth or giving birth to something other than baby, like your career or a garden or yourself. These are really good choices to clear out the hand-me-downs, what we automatically received from the peer pressure, from the church, from siblings or classmates. And that includes all the instances when their abuser was the woman, because, there's no hiding that. Sometimes it's the woman who is expressing her frustration with life and her trauma very unskillfully. And when she is acting it out, there are casualties, and that is also showing up as complication for it. So there is, especially in realm of relationship with the mother, with both parties, her own mother and the husband's mother. And sometimes that clearing is very one-sided, because we can't make decisions and choices for other people. We can demand them to respect and love us. We can wish for that, but we still need to do our piece in order to clear out the possible reasons for complications. And that's exactly what our work proves, that the majority of possible reasons for complications are preventable, that they could be dealt with because they have emotional, psychological, and spiritual nature. One of the biggest ones is why I'm saying that it's important to neutralize your own birth trauma, is because our birth trauma leaves us with within the gray zone of conflict, this uncertainty about our quintessential existence. Like, am I here in the right place at the right time? Because if we were severely traumatized and dissociated on the entrance out of mother's womb, then there is that PTSD that is carried throughout life, because then it severs the connection with the source from which we arrived, which kind of called us into existence in the first place. And then we don't remember, like, what are we doing here? Why did we come here? That's crazy. This world is crazy. What am I doing here? And the thing is, every single one of us has reason to be here, and it's a very darn good reason. So the fact that we don't remember about it due to this severe state of dissociation that started at birth, that doesn't change that fact. So if we go back and we neutralize the negative effect of that birth trauma, then all of a sudden, bing, all the lights go on, and we remember who we are and why and what we're doing here. So this is basically the main message, that peace on earth begins with birth, as, bless her heart, Janine Parvati Baker stated so eloquently and brilliantly. And I keep repeating it. And yeah. So, Nicole, keep me on track.
Thank you so much, Elena. And yeah, look, it's such an incredible subject that can span so many different aspects of life. But I'm grateful to that terrible meme about Igor Charkovsky that has given rise to this conversation. And I'm also extremely grateful for the body of work that you created after your experiences in the Black Sea birth camps, which is known now as the Birth into Being method, and is all over the globe with facilitators in lots of different countries working in lots of different languages to help with neutralizing our own birth trauma, either in preparation for birth, preparation for life, and all our magical projects. And yeah, and I think it's wonderful that the memory of birth as a mystical experience, of intervention free birth, that memory is still having its echoes, and it's still being manifested, albeit in very small numbers, but it's there. The longing is clearly there, as we see when people are sharing this meme, that the heart is still going there, even if it's kind of illogical. And I think it's wonderful to have had this conversation to clear it up, that it's not the dolphins that do the job. It's it's the birthing mother that does the job,
And
right?
one important thing is that you can have dolphin births in the dead of winter in your own bathtub at home,
Yeah,
or not in a bathtub at all, in your bedroom, because it's all about frequencies. And you have the whole 9 months of pregnancy to train your nervous system to, like, go into that space that you go into when you're swimming with dolphins. It's really about our ability to disregard the chaos of the world and connect with the core of our beingness, and can feel the power of the source moving through us as we become the portal of the new human being, arriving into our three-dimensional reality and stepping up into that space that, when a woman is a divine feminine, she is the goddess bringing into existence something that did not exist before. It's very, very magical, mystical experience. Men have to go to magician's school, and all they can do is pull a rabbit out of the hat that was already in there somewhere. they, they keep trying. They keep trying. What can I do? Yeah, good. Let them try. But our bodies are innately wired to make magic happen. So, yeah, let's keep making that magic.
absolutely. I'm going to link below to some of your other interviews that go into the mechanism of limbic imprinting in more depth, because yeah, there's a lot to be explored there, more than we have time for today. So thank you so much, Elena, for all your
Oh, my
time.
pleasure. Thank you for thinking of it to make it happen.